morning, everyone, and welcome to this first edition of the Imo Economy Study Seminar or webinar. The focus of today is on opportunities in agribusiness in Imo State, and I'm happy to have a host of good panelists, and also the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture is here with us, Dr. Bart Okorochukwu. So before I start, maybe I invite him to say one or two words, and then we start. We promised to start at 11:30, so it's now 5 minutes after that, and we apologize. But we make sure we wrap up at 12:30 p.m. on the dot as promised. And it's a challenge I need to take on board now. So Dr. Okorochukwu, without any pressures, I want you to say a few words.
Good morning, all. Prof, I have to personally thank you for actually initiating this process. And this is the first time that we're having this in state. And we promise that it's going to be a whole lot of advantage for all of us that are in Imo State in terms of growing the economy in Imo State. So I will sit back and have what's the press. So you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner Dr. Bart Okorochukwu. My name is Kenneth Amechi, and I'm a professor at the University of Edinburgh. I'm also a professor at the European University Institute in Florence. I'm currently the Chief Economic Advisor to the Imo State government. So it's my pleasure to welcome you all here. The Imo Economy Study Network is one where we try to bring the academia and the public intellectuals closer to public policy making. And it's one that is driven by the conventional idea of town-town relationship. Town here being the city or the state or the Imo State in general, and the town being the academia. So this is one of the initiatives we are bringing on board to help mainstream conversations about the economy and also bringing more voices into the conversation. So today, it's my pleasure to welcome our great panelists, Father Geoffrey Nzamoju. If you know Shanghai Farms, he's the founder, and he's also from Imo State. So he's on board today. We are to explore the agribusiness opportunities in Imo State. And the theme of this is about the hidden opportunities, those opportunities that sometimes you may not recognize. I also have Dr. Nneka Chidebre-Mark, who's a lecturer at Imo State University in the Department of Agri-Economics or Extension. I also have Professor B.C. Wanguma from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, a veteran in the space, and also have Mr. Chidi, Precious Chidi, who works for PIN stands for Partnership for the Niger Delta. And they have done a lot of work looking at agribusiness opportunities in the South, in the Niger Delta region, which includes Imo State. So without much of wasting time, it's also good to mention that we are on air through FM, Orient FM, as well as Mosiza FM. So the idea is to capture this and record it, to record it and also to use it subsequently. So we welcome your contribution and encourage you to participate actively. Without taking much of your time, I want to invite Professor Wanguma to give us some kind of overview of his take on the Imo economy and the agribusiness opportunities in it.
Well, thank you so very much, coordinator. Can you hear me? Sorry, can you?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes, a little bit of echo, but it's fine.
Good morning, everyone, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Commissioner. It's my pleasure to be part of this webinar, the discussion on agribusiness opportunities in Imo State. My role is a very simple one, and the coordinator has asked that I jumpstart, stimulate, or provoke our conversation this morning on the topic agribusiness opportunities in Imo State. As we all may know, this is part of an ongoing series of discussions on a broader theme, which is uncovering the hidden potentials in Imo economy. I know why the coordinator has chosen me, or I think I know why. It's because he knows I share this opinion, this view, very strong one, that agriculture or agribusiness offers Imo State the best opportunities in her quest to uncover the hidden potentials in the economy. Or in other words, agriculture or agribusiness is about as they say in development studies, the lowest hanging fruits in Imo State as far as uncovering the hidden potentials of that economy. And this is because, as you all may know, I'm glad there are experts in the house who will share this opinion, and that is that agribusiness offers Imo State the best opportunities to, one, create employment, and by so doing, address the lingering problem of unemployment, youth unemployment in the state, sorry. It also gives us a chance to address the problem of food shortages, food insecurity, which is responsible for rising food prices, inflation, and food shortages and hunger. It also offers the state a good opportunity to alleviate poverty. There have been many policies around poverty alleviation in Imo State and in the country. Agriculture, agribusiness offers the state the opportunity to get that problem solved and put it behind. It also offers the state good opportunity to create wealth, and by so doing, address another problem of insecurity, which has been linked to desperation, hunger, and unemployment. And if all these 5 problems are addressed sufficiently, you would agree with me that we would have successfully succeeded in our attempt to boost the economy of the state. And so to further provoke the conversation this morning, let me make an attempt to present a definition of what agribusiness entails. Briefly, it refers to the business in agriculture or in the food sector of the economy. And a broader definition would define agribusiness to include all activities associated with food production, food processing, food marketing, and distribution of not just the raw food, but also processed foods, including the supply of various inputs and services for these activities. And this means that we can go forward to classify agribusiness into 4, 5, or even more scopes. One is the business of agricultural production. By this, one means the production of crops and animals. Under crop production, Imo State has the potential to grow that economy by growing tubers, which includes cassava, yam, cocoa yam, potatoes. Grains includes corn, rice, vegetables, various vegetables, okra, pumpkin, spinach, bitter leaf, tomatoes, and pepper. And of course, fiber, cotton, fruits, various fruits, oranges, mangoes, bananas, pawpaws, pineapples, you name it, watermelon, etc. And then the other cash crops, plantain, cocoa, rubber, palm fruit, and more recently, medicinal plants. And then, of course, in animal production, there are opportunities for producing poultry, chicken and egg, raising pigs and piggery, fisheries. There are opportunities for snail farming, raising grass cutters, and goats and cattle. The second scope is the business of agricultural inputs. There are huge opportunities for businesses in the production and distribution of agricultural inputs, various inputs, such as seeds and seedlings, fertilizers, organic and inorganic, as the case may be, pesticides, animal feed, medicines, vaccines, and concentrates, protein concentrates for inclusion in animal feeds. There are also opportunities for the production and sale of basic farm implements, hoes, cutlasses, and spades, and the more sophisticated machinery like tillers, harvesters, and tractors. And the third scope is the business of agricultural processing, storage, preservation, and packaging. And these opportunities are there for the production of fruit juices to be preserved for long-time use or to be sold and consumed fresh. There are opportunities for processing the various tubers and grains into starch, which find wide application in the industries. There are also opportunities for producing spices and even tea, and more recently, various supplements which are in high demand. I'm hoping that going forward as discussions expand, we can, give specific examples. Particularly excited about the possibility of making tea, blending some of our vegetables like the good popular nchang into tea and making good business out of it. And then there is the opportunity in the fourth scope, which is the business of agricultural marketing and distribution. There are opportunities for people who may not be directly involved in any form of production, but to be involved with the marketing of finished products or marketing of raw products. So this includes the transportation and distribution of farm products or processed products across the state, into and out of the state, and even opportunities for export of some of these products, which, as we know, are in high demand abroad. The fifth scope is the business of providing.
You can be wrapping up there now, Professor, so we can also have time to.
Yes, I'm done. I'm done in another minute.
Okay.
I know you allowed me 5 minutes. Yes, the business of providing facilitative services, such services as insurance services or financing, providing credit for farmers or for people involved in agribusiness, and even the provision of infrastructure like water and energy for farmers. And as we know, these are all closely interrelated. And with this coordinator, I think my job is done. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to butt in there. I'm conscious of time. I think it's very interesting to know that we might be in very soon producing tea. So that in that case, we're likely to be in competition with Kenya. These are some of the hidden opportunities we would like to explore. Let me go straight to Father Godfrey Nzamoju. You've been a veteran in this space, and given where you are, some of the things you have achieved in West Africa, and so we are proud to know that you are from Imo State. So what are you thinking about Imo State, and what opportunities do you see?
Thank you very much, Prof. First of all, I'm going to thank you for this opportunity, and I didn't hesitate at all in being a part of this process here. Yes, I really think that Imo State can capture a big share on the $1 trillion economy of agriculture in Africa. Let's look at it that way. It is very, very possible. But also we must look at the constraints. What are the constraints in Imo State in the agriculture industry? Let me go back on what the lead speaker just said about agribusiness. If we look at agribusiness, we're looking at three sectors over there. Primary sector, which is purely agricultural production, animal, crop, and fish. Look at that one. From there, the second level of it, secondary production, which is agro-industry, machineries, all of them. And then the third one, the tertiary, or the services over there. Let's look at it simply over there so that we can know how to do it. But now, what is most important today is in the primary sector. If the primary sector is not vibrant and productive and resilient, it's not going to work. It's like building something castle in the air. So the biggest problem in Imo State today is the capacity of the soil. Imo State is highly degraded at a rate of 60% every year. So something has to be done to wake up the capacity of the soil in Imo State to carry that big challenge today. So again, this is really, if we're looking about agro-industry, Prof, what trajectory are we taking? If you do on the old conventional agriculture, Imo State cannot do it. So it is time for us to really look at ourselves. What are the real possibility sets and what are the challenges of the soil in Imo State to carry that kind of, heavy burden that has to carry. Very soon.
Father, let me push you back a bit. I mean, when you say that the land is degraded, so people look towards Ebema, look towards Ngobala, we see that the land is fertile. So when you say it's degraded, what exactly do you mean by that? So that
this is the myth. This is the myth. I know it very well. If you see Ebema, all of them are highly degraded today. Look at the productivity last year and kind of things. They are degrading 30 to 60% today. If any kind of land in Ebema, because all the people in Imo State, Imo South, they have gone to Ebema, towards Port Harcourt, to go over there. The heavy rainfall today, this is what I really think. It is highly, it cannot continue at that rate of degradation. Let me tell you, Imo State today is losing at the rate of 2.something% of the GDP of Imo State because of the soil degradation. We cannot fund it. Whereas it's going to take Imo State only about 1.something% of the GDP to reverse that today. If that foundation,
so what can be done? What can be done before I go to Dr. Chidebere Mark? What can be done? I mean, if we are losing land through degradation, that means probably you can also move to other things that maybe not non-land-based kind of agriculture. But what can be done to safeguard the degradation or reverse it?
It is really, Imo State is a small type of thing, hybrid kind of thing. It's to go on sustainable, renewable. That is really, because we are going at the limits of what I call what you call the operation, the space of it. We have abused it. We have pushed it so much that everything is done. So we have to redo. There's a lot of new technologies today to start regenerative agriculture. Look at, we must a system. The population is growing very much, and the land per capita is degrading. If today, Prof, the land is degrading, if we do not develop new systems of soil degradation where we can produce more and better with less, forget about agriculture being a question of that. So those technologies exist today, we must embrace them. And that's exactly what we're trying to do in Imo State, starting from that one over there. This is really
okay. Okay, fantastic. I mean, Dr. Chidebere Mark, do you recognize what Father Jeffrey Zamogo had just described?
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Meshi. Yes, it's possible there's degradation, but I can't exactly say if his statistics is correct, because I don't know if there's such study that says there's about 60% degradation of the soil in Imo State. But then I would say that is moving out from our focus this morning, because we're actually supposed to be speaking on some agribusiness opportunities in Imo State. So now I want to agree with him when he talked about the three sectors, and each sector is actually important for the other sector, talking about the production sector under the primary, the secondary, also where you talk about processing and the rest, and also for the tertiary institution, where you talk about machineries. Now, I know that in Imo State, and basically not just Imo State, all over Southeast Nigeria, we actually have our small farmers, smallholders. They've been doing the beets. They've been doing the beets. In fact, I would say if they've not been doing the beets and producing the little, they have been producing with a little excess going to the markets. I don't know if we would have had enough food to eat, because food security should be our focus right now, and also employment for the youth. Yes, there abounds a lot of opportunities in the agribusiness sector. So, but to also encourage those farmers, I'm talking to investors now. I'm talking to investors, like when you go to the markets, especially when you go to relief markets, you see a lot of waste, food loss. You see vegetables, you see fruits, they keep wasting these things. These farmers and these small scale traders, they are doing the beets, but without enough infrastructure, they may not be able to do much. So now that is an opportunity for investors to come up with things like cold chains, cold stalls, where these women, especially the vegetable and the fruit farmers, they can just pay a little sum every day to store their produce, so that the shelf life would be expanded. Now, also looking at Imo State, you can see that we actually have oil palm over here. I know some years back in my undergraduate days, I actually worked on oil palm plantation, and I used to have this idea. I know a couple of persons have gone into that now, but I don't know if we actually have private investors that are doing that in Imo State. Yes, the other palm is there, where you can actually go to a shop, you go to ShopRite, you go to any supermarket, and you can actually buy good quality oil off the shelves. Now, this is a very good investment opportunity for investors who have the money, who have the capacity to set up plants. Now, I'm speaking from experience when I also did my industrial training during my fourth year. I want to say I actually studied, my first degree was actually in Imo State University. So when I did my industrial training, in a vegetable oil processing plant somewhere at Onitsha. And I was thinking about that. Do we really have enough of those in Imo State? In fact, ask any trader, ask any woman in her home, she will tell you that the prices of vegetable oils are over the roof right now. Now, these are investment opportunities. If we can actually have those things close to home, if we can actually have people investing in such line, setting up such plants, you find out that the price would actually be better for us over here. Now, talking about cassava, yes, we have a comparative advantage for cassava production in Imo State. But then should it just be all about frying our gari, making fufu and all that? Are there no industry uses? Can't we leverage on that to actually set up plans where we can process some of these things into industrial raw materials and actually raking a lot of money for Imo State? There abounds a lot. Like when Professor Wangaba was talking, he talked about fruit juice processing plant. We all take Chivita. Yes, I love Chivita. We all take Chivita. Chivita is a fruit juice. Everybody loves it. But then do we have such facilities over here? That's also an opportunity for investors to think about. Then bringing it down to maybe let's look at the farmers as the beneficiaries right now. I know that the extension service, especially in the ADP, I don't know what has been happening there for some years now, but they're not really as strong as they could be. But I know that in the West, they still have some of private institutions coming up with extension services where you can actually extend some of this knowledge and technologies to the farmers, probably at a little fee, or probably maybe some NGOs backing it. This is some of the opportunities. And finance is actually one of the problems that farmers actually face. And so what about having a kind of outfit, microfinance or whatever, and actually having farmers as part of the target beneficiaries to actually incentivize them to produce. Yeah. So there are there's just a plethora of opportunities in Imo State. I can't just keep talking on, but I'll have to leave.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is your area of expertise. I think you have a lot there to say. But the point you made which struck me is about this vegetable oil. And I'm wondering, I'm thinking here, if you have identified this opportunity a long time ago, why is it not happening? Is it that people don't see it or you're not being able to sell that idea? Maybe somebody listening here might think of it and say, well, this is the reason why it is not happening, or this is the big opportunity we can tap into. What is the size of this market? Why must somebody go to Onitsha for this? And why don't we have it in Imo State?
Okay, I don't know, maybe we have one or two pockets, and probably that's why we're here on air today, so that we can actually come up with some of the ideas we have. You know, like the academia, yes, we have a lot of ideas, but we may not really have maybe the logistics, the finance to go with these things. But then what's all about partnership? You can bring the idea, some other person brings the finance, and then we're all
fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, that's an opportunity. If somebody is listening, we have identified one, vegetable oil, and maybe I'll also add healthy one, because vegetable oil may also have implications.
Yeah, yes, the quality is of paramount. Yeah.
Exactly. So let me go to Mr. Precious Chidi, who's done a lot of work in the Niger Delta. What sort of opportunities do you see in Imo State for agribusiness? Mr. Chidi, do you want to unmute yourself? Yeah, that's brilliant.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, moderator. And I'm really sorry that I don't have my video on. I've actually been battling with that, and I'm not in a place where I can video. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you well. But yeah, that's fine. Yeah, please carry on.
Absolutely, I can hear you. So very interesting conversations, and I totally agree with the last two speakers, particularly the last speaker, when she kind of dwelt on palm oil and cassava. So Imo State, when it comes to agriculture, has comparative advantage on some commodities. And the thing about Imo State also, Imo has the right conditions for agri to thrive. So Imo State should do very well, and we have been doing very well in agriculture. But the thing is that there has been so much investment in the sector to take it from where it's been over the years, to where it should be now. So the sector is not growing, not just in Imo State. Nationally, the agri sector is not growing. It used to be one of the fastest growing, contributors to the GDP. Right now, it is not, but it's still one of the greatest, employers of labor in Nigeria. Then coming down to Imo, you find that we have comparative advantage when it comes to palm oil production, palm. So we are top there, one of the top 3 producers of palm oil in Nigeria. We are one of the top 3 in cassava production. We are up there as well too when it comes to poultry production, livestock. And gradually, I know that we're beginning to delve into aquaculture, because now in the aquaculture sector, you don't have to necessarily have your pond in a stream or around the coastal areas. You can have a tarpaulin pond and you can produce fish. So yes, so Imo, it has a lot of opportunities, but just to kind of dwell on palm oil, which the last speaker touched on. And you asked a question about vegetable oil. Let me tell you the problem why we don't have a lot of vegetable, that opportunity hasn't really been explored. It also boils down to the issue of productivity. So in the palm oil sector, they need to produce enough palm oil that will go to both the food market, those, we consume a lot of palm oil, used to make soup, etc., and those that will go to the industrial market. And you find that a lot of the palm oil produced in Imo, in Nigeria, particularly Imo, produce a lot of oil in Imo. It's what we call technical palm oil. So it has a lot of saturated fat in it, etc. We don't produce the special palm oil, which the industrial sector requires. And to produce that, it requires, a lot more sophisticated machinery and also, better processing techniques. But even when we come to this technical palm oil that we produce, there is still so much opportunity. What we found is that because there's a lot of demand, there's big demand for even technical palm oil, not just in Imo State, but nationally, and even in Africa and outside of Africa, we're still not producing enough. There's a lot of issue with the productivity of farmers, and productivity keeps declining year on year. Part of the issue is, one, at the processing level of palm oil, a lot of the equipment utilized, farmers are processors, small processors are only able to extract 11% of their oil. So from a fresh fruit bunch, farmers only get 11% of that oil out. So what we've done, I work for PIN Foundation, and like you said, we've been working in the region, is to introduce, what we call some small scale processing technology that's able to help farmers get up to 15% of their oil out, and that's an increase. You also find
sorry, in here before you continue, right? I mean, you dwelt a lot on palm oil, and also Dr. Neka mentioned it. But one of the problems I've also heard about, I don't know to what extent that is true, is that palm oil or palm plantations will require land, and Imo State is short of land. How many other palms can we truly create in Imo State, for example? And given our land mass, do you think this reliance, I know probably we're starting from where we are today, which is palm, but is palm a sustainable way of looking at the future of agriculture in Imo State, given that the land constraint we have?
So the last comment you made, Malaysia, they came here to take our palm fruit and they built an economy.
How much land does Malaysia have? That's the point. I'm not saying that palm oil is not good, but I'm looking at the land space it requires. You need the land to plant the trees, isn't it?
Absolutely, you're right. So we look at it. So there's two ways to look at this. One is, absolutely, we don't have enough land, but also we don't have enough land. We don't even have improved varieties of palm. So the palm trees that you see are of the poor, low varieties. So productivity is quite low. Now there are better improved varieties of palm oil where you get much more fruit, as much as 80% more fruit from your palm tree than what we currently have. So a lot of the palm trees we have now, they are aging and they are dying and they're only producing very little. But the better improved varieties can produce a lot more. So if we introduce improved varieties, and that is also an issue because farmers don't have access to improved varieties in Imo State and generally in Nigeria. So if we introduce improved varieties, the yield can significantly increase, from what we currently have. So we'll better utilize even the land that we have. That is one. Secondly, we also have some lands that we've not been able to open. So you find that this is one study we did. So there are a lot of forest reserves in Imo and also in most of the Niger Delta states, but opening those lands are quite expensive. You find that private sectors do not have the resources to, but now this is where government can come in to open up those lands and make them arable for farmers to be able to plant improved varieties. And then there has been an intentional approach to have more other palms, to encourage the private sector, to go into setup of more plantations. Those can serve the industrial sector. Let me leave it at that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And these are very good points. Let me go back to Father Godfrey Zamoju before I go to Professor Wanguba. Somebody in the chat raised the question of greenhouse farming or something like that. I guess it might speak to sustainable agriculture, which is an area I know you are very conversant with. Do you see opportunities for that in Imo State? Sorry, what's your
Thank you
major?
very much. But before I go that very quickly, I think we can't go on a monolithic agriculture of palm oil and palm oil. We have to build a broad and inclusive agriculture that is sustainable. Imo State is very, very small. We can't afford to go to the other forests and start cutting them up. This is one of the biggest mistakes of the environmental crisis today. I repeat, Imo State cannot afford to open more lands to plant trees, palm trees over there, but must have a more broad-based, diverse. It's going to be our strength today. So we have done these things before, it did not work. Let's not repeat what we did yesterday, because the trajectory we are going through now, what I'm hearing here, is going to be too difficult to reverse tomorrow. It's very fragile ecosystem. And if we go beyond that one and then transgress, it's going to be catastrophic with the number of people coming. Now, the next thing, greenhouses. Imo State is already a greenhouse. I think people are selling all these garbage technologies in Africa. None works except in Jos or it only during Hamatan it can even work. People are selling garbage to Africa. Imo State is already a greenhouse all year round. How can you bring a greenhouse in a greenhouse over there? So let's people be very, very careful about that type of thing. What we have to do is, how do we unlock the capacity we have today, the technologies, to within a smaller piece of land, new seeds coming, new technologies coming, we can produce 3 times. Imo State has to go on a smaller piece of land. That's the trajectory. How can we produce more and better with a small land? That's the trajectory tomorrow. But not producing less with more. That's what we're doing today. Let's learn how to produce more and better with less. And that's where technologies come, new farming system, and more diverse, so that we have one-stop markets where you get palm oil, chicken, all of them, vegetables all around. It's not going to be only palm oil, only type of thing. Imo State must be both a broad-based, highly diverse ecosystem. This is our comparative advantage, highly diverse ecosystem, biodiversity extremely. Let's harness them to build economy that is sustainable today. Remember, we are forgetting about food and nutritional security. Imo State is not just food and nutritional security, the quality, diverse type of thing to order to build a good system. So we're looking at a new food and agricultural system that is of tomorrow, an economy of tomorrow, not of yesterday over there. So go back again, Prof, about this greenhouse thing. It exists, we can now print screen house instead of greenhouse. Screen house, you reduce the level of light coming in, some of the rays, reduce them infrared and infrared and that kind of things, and then reduce them so that the tomatoes you can produce over. So instead of greenhouse, I'm promoting, and that's what we're doing in Imo State around the world. We're doing screen house. It's fantastic. All year round we can do it. It's cheaper, it's better, and more control. So forget about greenhouse. Let's go on screen house, where you screen some of the wavelengths that are destructive, like the infrared and kind of things, and get them over the world. So the screen house is the way to improve productivity.
Fantastic, and that's an opportunity in itself there. And what you said about land versus the environmental side of things, and Dr. Chidebrema was talking about finance. Most financiers today will look at the sustainability issues before the finance. If you're looking at large-scale agriculture, that's very important, and we need to prepare for that future. But you talked to us about food and nutrition security. Let me go to Professor Wanguma. I mean, he's very passionate about food security. And given what is happening in Ukraine, for example, Ukraine and Russia, the impact of wheat, and the knock-on effects which might come through wheat-related products like bread, flour, and so on and so forth. Are we expecting a famine soon?
Well, thank you to bring me back on board again. I was going to make a reaction to the earlier comments, but let me address the issue. The situation is there, the very genuine concerns about the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war on the availability of grains, and then the availability of fertilizers in Africa and in Nigeria, and then the situation this year would be there. If I were in a position, I would do everything possible to make sure that food production in the state is enhanced this year, because there's a real problem of, there are obvious signs of food inflation already, and it can only get worse, But then if I were to react to the earlier comments, coordinator, if you don't mind, the discussion about palm oil, yes, interesting, but it's been there. Your question about how much land we have is also there. But in a conversation of this nature, when we're looking at opportunities. It may be good to discuss how to create opportunities, because the problem with our farming is it's not as productive, it's not as rewarding as it ought to be. Let me draw an analogy from what has happened in one of the states. So the state built a rice mill, for instance, and then it's buying up all the rice produced by the small scale farmers, processing them, adding value, and marketing them across the country as good quality rice. And that served as an additional incentive for the farmers to go back and produce more rice, knowing that there's some price guarantee. I think that opportunity also exists in Imo State for crops like cassava, like someone mentioned, plantains, tomatoes, even bananas. Close to 40%, maybe 60% of some of these products are lost, to post-harvest deterioration. So mangoes, for instance, about 2 months ago, mangoes were all over the place. About 40% of those were lost. If somebody builds a plant for processing those mangoes into some kind of a product, let's say mango juices or mango flakes, like they call them, mango chips. You have mango chips all over England now, coming all the way from India. And that would save us a lot of wastage. Same thing can be done for tomatoes. A plant for processing tomatoes into purees and canning them will encourage people to produce tomatoes all year round. And the state will be happy for it. Even bananas, close to 50% of banana yield in the year is lost. And if we had the facility to just dehydrate bananas into banana chips, I eat banana chips all the time, just dehydration, that's all you need. Dry it, get it dry, and package it appropriately and all that. I think that is the way our conversation should be going. That everybody's drinking tea, green that. Every leaf in China or South Africa has been made into tea. We have Nchuangu there, which has enormous minty smell. We're thinking about how to process those things into teas, add value to them, and take outside the state and make money for people.
So, I mean, based on that, then, what are our scientists doing? I think you're one of them, Professor Wanguma, right?
Yeah.
And for us to convert some of these things, we wouldn't depend on local farmers who are just doing their own bit. Where is the role of the academia in translating and transforming this through research and science?
Yeah, the role of the academia is to, the easiest one is to, bring it to prominence that these opportunities do exist. That with some dehydration, you can have banana chips. The research has been done.
No, but you also need good standard, you need good science. Yeah, yes, you need good science and good standards. So it's not just, yeah.
The research has been done about how much moisture you should allow in something like bananas, for instance, to have them properly dehydrated. At the temperature at which you do the dehydration, so you don't lose the texture, you don't lose the color, they appeal to the eyes. Research has also been done for the same thing as for plantains.
So have you spoken to the likes of Unilever and the other people who are investing in tea? So maybe there is the need for commercialization of innovation. We can't say we've done the research and that's it. So what is the academia also doing to showcase some of these findings to companies that will make use of them?
Well, I mean, those who have worked on this have taken them to exhibitions. I'm sure something is going on somewhere. I don't have all that information, but I'm sure that, that is going on. But as a state that is looking to unlock our economy, we need to let the people know that these opportunities do exist. Most of what we eat in Imo State, in the whole of Nigeria, actually grow in the wild. Some of our vegetables like oha or kazi and all that will be gone. Raffia is almost gone. Ngwo is gone in Imo State, basically. And these are things that we need to do.
Okay, I mean the future looks a bit scary there, but that's why we're having this conversation, and I'll be looking at that to take your questions on board. So let's try Dr. Chidebere again, Chidebere Mark, and look at some of the opportunities that we highlighted. You're talking about money. What role do you think the banks will have here in helping us unlock the business opportunities in the state?
Okay, the banks actually, if you talk to farmers, finance is usually a problem for most of them because they need to buy the inputs, they need to get some of the pesticides, and even the fertilizers and all that. And so finance is always a key factor for increased productivity. And so the banks, I don't know, I would rather say if the government can have a kind of arrangement or agreement with them, because it's not just to give them these funds. The interest rate is actually one of the factors that may actually make them not want to take up these loans. But if they are sure they have a single digit loan given to them, like I know of NISAL is actually Nigeria Investment Risk Sharing Agricultural Lending Scheme. It's actually a kind of incentive from the federal government through the CBN to kind of share part of the risk that these farmers face. And so I think this can also be stepped down to the state government level, where the farmers, when they are assured of loans, they can actually be assured also of taking up part of this risk for them. And also the Nigerian Insurance Cooperative Scheme. In fact, really sometime about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we're doing a study. Well, so sorry to have mentioned their name, but the volume of work going on there, they actually should play a major role in agricultural productivity, but the volume of work going on there, I don't know, we need to check what's going on. So there is need actually to incentivize these farmers through making provision for loans, for credits, and single digits. It shouldn't be something expensive, just to help them to produce more. And if they can produce more, then of course, some of these investors can actually get inputs for their processing plants and the rest of them. And not just the finance. I think extension is also important. We can't have increased productivity in Imo State without thinking extension. And the ADP, they have a major role, because right now I am not too sure we have any private investments towards that. So the ADP should actually be encouraged to do more for the farmers. Thank you.
But there's also the problem about the risks involved. And I've spoken to some banks, and sometimes they tell you, yes, they're willing to come in, but the insurance you talked about also may be very reluctant. If you look at the header farmers conflict, that in itself is a problem that is beyond us here. But let me go straight to Engineer Emeka. Engineer Emeka, you managed to come on board. You're an academic, you're also a farmer. Do you want to reflect on what you've had so far and probably identify some of the opportunities you see in the Imo agribusiness?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. My apologies. I had a few technical hitches which I have been able to solve. I would
The network is bad.
The network is bad. I don't think he's succeeding with that one. So, Engineer, shall I come back to you again? Stay on it.
Of Nigeria, it is
Sorry, your connection is not great. Let me go to Mr. Precious Chidi. You have been on this. Shall we? What have you had so far? Do you want to build on some of the points that have been made? One of the things that's currently missing is the capacity building. So we just take that for granted. We have agriculture, we have land, we have product, but what about the capacity building of the farmers? And what would you suggest? And how do you even make agribusiness a sexy business? Yeah.
I don't know if someone is still talking.
No, go ahead. That's you.
Okay.
That's kind of
all right. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. So very interesting conversations. Yes, capacity building is important, and that is one of the key constraints that farmers face. And before I just dwell in a little bit, can I just address just briefly the last speaker? When I was talking about opening up of new plantations, I wasn't necessarily saying that we should go, deforesting and opening up new arable lands if that is not part of the state strategy. But I started by saying there is a need to increase the productivity and efficiency of farmers. And this also comes down to the issue of capacity building. Because for us, so you begin to talk about what we're going to, we need to improve what we're currently doing now. Farmers in the region are very unproductive in Imo State. So capacity building is key. And in capacity building, we look at it from different angles. One had been mentioned here, which is the need for extension services provision, which is currently very weak, and the ADPs are not strong enough. So part of what we've been doing in the foundation is to begin to build and strengthen private commercial extension services who offer these services to farmers commercially, for a fee. They offer advisory, they offer linkages to market, they offer improved services, etc. Capacity building also has to do with improving their knowledge on best practices. What sort of practices are required for cassava farming, for palm oil farming, the best management practices, etc., to increase their current yield. That is part of capacity building, improving their knowledge on best practices, gaining access to quality and improved seeds in cassava, quality stems, in palm oil, improved varieties. And a lot of them, farmers do not have, but they don't even have the knowledge. Before you talk about access, there needs to be knowledge and availability of that particular thing. So these are all part of commodity capacity building. But most importantly, what drives capacity building is the supporting systems that farmers require, which in this case we have talked about private extension services or public ADPs which are not functioning. But there's a need for an intentional approach to ensure that farmers have the support that they require, to improve their productivity. And we can only do that if we have that really intentional approach. And that also ties down to the issue of risk. I'm sorry, I was listening to Doctor talk about, access to finance, which is key and important. And the fact that bankers do not want to lend to farmers because they're quite risky. They tell them as very risky. And part of the issue is—
Well, how can your organization help Imo farmers? Let me put you on the spot.
Absolutely. And that's what we've been doing. So that's what we've been doing. We've been working with CSA in Imo in particular on poultry, Cara Foundation on cassava, and we have a lot of private service providers that we've built, that these organizations that I've mentioned are helping us to coordinate, building the capacity of farmers via improved farming practices, improving their access to knowledge on best input, and also helping, talking to the large players and producers of input to ensure farmers gain access, not just on affordability, but also on the use, improved use of those inputs. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Chida, I would like you also to put your contact details.
No problem. No problem.
In the chat, in case anyone wants to follow up with this point. There are a couple of points that are related to what the government can do. It would also be nice to see what the government is doing. Maybe you can share some of your ideas and maybe invite others to contribute to it. At least an opportunity for you to showcase what your ministry is doing. The Honorable Commissioner, I don't know if you're still there. You may want to unmute yourself and then make your contribution. The Honorable Commissioner, you're mute. We can see your picture in case you're still there. We got 7 minutes more to go in case you want to chip in. Okay, while we're waiting for him, I don't know, Professor Nzambo, do you have any further thoughts? I saw you kind of listening pensively there. Any thoughts?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. That's something people talked about today, about the capacity building, because the key point is having a critical mass of young people that are totally retooled in this new direction. We don't have it today. That's why what we are doing in Imo State already, we are building innovative agribusiness hubs where we train these young people, equip them differently with new technologies, with new ways of thinking and doing things. That's very, very important. The key point is Imo should go to build a strong critical mass of young people, totally retooled. At the same time, develop new farming systems, that all the things I'm hearing about here. That's what we're doing around Wari, what we call the agribusiness centers, where you develop new technologies, equip them so that when people come there, they are functional. And that's where bankers can now bank on them, because after their training, they are functional. So that's why the bankers are refusing over their functional. And also, those centers also act as service centers to follow them. That will replace the moribund extension centers we go. But these new proudly sets up PPP centers, we call agribusiness centers, where you develop new technologies, new cream of young people, but also a service center with input, marketing, and sort of things, and they occupy them. These young people must occupy all the funds, not going to the big, outtakers. Is not the way to do it.
Okay, fantastic. The Honorable Commissioner is Honorable Commissioner, do you have like 3? Oh, he's gone. Okay, I don't know what's wrong with that one. So let's begin to capture final thoughts here. Dr. Chidebere, Mark, do you have more like your final comment? I know there are questions on the chat. I mean, we are picking them as we go along. I can see the trend there. Thanks for all your contributions. So Dr. Chidebere, Mark, do you have your final points? I guess she might be gone as well. I don't know what's wrong here. Okay, Professor Wanguma, please, do you have some final thoughts?
Well, thank you again. I'm excited about this conversation about capacity building because, that's what's going to turn our agriculture from not being quite productive and rewarding to being very, very rewarding. Capacity building, modern farming practices, and where possible, access to improve varieties of crops, so that if the yield increases, agriculture becomes more rewarding, becomes more attractive to young people, and then more food will be produced and the economy will grow. Thank you. Okay,
great. Yeah, the Honorable Commissioner, I'm keen to bring you in, but I don't know what's wrong with your connection. Are you there now? Do you want to say a few words? We got like 3 minutes left.
Yeah, okay, I'll just come in again. My name.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a connection problem there.
Network is something else, but I'm on now. Hello?
Okay, yeah, maybe if you remove your video, it might help as well. Yeah, if you remove your video, maybe it might help.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you well. So just reflect on what the government is doing and some of your plans. We got like 3 minutes. I know the radio stations are also standing by. Yeah. I don't think it's working. This is okay. Dr. Chidebere, Mark, maybe do you want to go? Just say your last words. Not last words, but kind of parting words.
Okay.
That is very wonderful. That will also, help people that really want to practice agriculture. Prof talked about, the non-availability of lands and all the rest of them. I think with the mass land we have, at least we have about 5,100 and something square kilometers of land in Imo State. Out of this, we have about 3,350 available for cultivation of products. The major thing is, I think, is that of priority for us and also for people to move away from the system farming that we're having now to subsistence farming, mechanized farming in some of the areas. And that is why even part of what the government is also doing is also to support some of the public-private partnership we've also been trying to drive in the state in terms of also making it possible, accessible for lands, making their lands accessible in terms of road, also providing electricity and water to some of these areas so that the ease of doing these businesses will now be a lot more easier. And our interaction with the finance houses too, we have even though we had that initial challenge of the part of what they had last time because of the destructions that they had with the headers and the flooding that also made the farmers not to also cope up with the loans that they were giving them. They've looked at that and we're also talking based on those risks that they suffered for government for them to also see how they can ameliorate that and also support them, because if they are supported, I know many of them are interested in farming. The awareness is much higher there now, and the majority of them are now coming in. Now, more importantly,
okay, Honorable Commissioner, we just have 30 seconds, so we need to cut it off at 12:30. Yes.
Now, with government is also trying to revive all the abandoned agricultural projects that we have. We know that have to farm, they have to poultry farm. that is there. Recently, the governor launched out of Acharubo integrated farm at so these are business opportunities that are there. The rubber plantation is also there. We're looking for investors that will now come in, revamp the that aspect. Roach is already handling the other palm aspect, and of course we expect yields from all these these areas. Recently, the governor also employed 54 extension workers. This is also part of the need for them to get to the grassroots in the local areas to teach farmers on some of the new modalities and some of the recent things to improve agricultural.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner, sorry, we have to stop there. Yes, apologies for that. I mean, we are 12:30 on the dot. Dr. Chidebre Mark, I know you wanted to say something, but we are run out of time now. So this is an opportunity to thank everyone who has participated today, and it's been interesting. The next edition will be on retailing opportunities. Please don't miss it, and we'll see you on the 28th of May. So thank you, my panelists, and have a nice afternoon. Thank you very much, and bye.